Chapter 9, Lightning Fast Decision. Lunar date 3.1625.4.5. 3 hours and 16 minutes after night rise. Music blared, people were dancing, games were being played, beverages were being consumed. This was the annual summer party for those in their final year of the Artanikst Academy. Every year, during the month of Vera, the students executed one of the biggest parties that covered the entire campus. It symbolized the conclusion of their education, even though technically they still had half a year left. No one wanted to have an outdoor party in the winter, especially an Artanikst winter. All the students, regardless of their year, were invited. The professors were also present as chaperones, though more often than not they joined in on the festivities. Rarely did any issues arise, as they wanted to have a fun time with their friends and fellow colleagues. Abigale took a sip from her glass of cranberry sparkling wine from Calmorn. It was her second glass of the evening. She wasn't in a hurry to get drunk. She wanted to enjoy her time with her friends. Alongside her, Shyloe downed another pint of Vault Ale, a dark brown stout with a hint of caramel mixed throughout. Both girls were wearing loose-fitting sundresses. Abigale's was a sunflower yellow, while Shyloe sported one of pale green. They had recently discarded their shawls as the air was still fairly warm for the evening. "Shyloe, dear," Candy's voice came from Shy's nexus. "Yes, Candy?" "Your blood alcohol levels are elevating. Perhaps you should take a break and drink some water or coffee. Unless you're wanting to be drunk right now." Is there any way to shut you off?" "Unfortunately for you, there is not. Do you wish to be drunk now?" "No," she let out a sigh of defeat. "Very well. I have set a timer for an hour. Then you can have alcohol again. I will continue to monitor your levels and alert you again if I think they are getting too high." "Thanks." Charlotte's voice did not betray any type of real gratitude. People were still allowed to get drunk while wearing their nexus, but once they did, their personal candy sent an alert to a person's pre-selected top 5 contacts and any nearby fabricators to inform them that their person was not allowed to have any more drinks. If Candy detected more alcohol in their system after the alert was sent out, the authorities were alerted and dispatched to come obtain the person until they sobered up. "Where did Dorn go?" Abigale looked around. "I'm not sure. He said he'd be right back." "That was 20 minutes ago, though. I will go look for him." "I will come with you." "No," Abigale held out her free hand. "You need some water, remember? Or some coffee." Shyloe stared down at her nexus and mouthed the words, "I hate you," in a silenced whisper. Abigale laughed and finished the rest of her sparkling wine. "I will be back. Grab me a coffee too, please." "You got it, Abs." Abigale walked through the crowds of people singing and dancing as she searched for Dorn. She wasn't too concerned about his whereabouts. He could do whatever he wanted to. She wasn't his babysitter or his mother. Still, they were supposed to be attending the party together, so his social image could continue to rise. She surmised where he might be. She didn't mention it to Shyloe. On a normal day, Shyloe wasn't a fan of Dorn. With alcohol in her system, there was no telling what her friend might do to him. With each new day, it became easier to accept the idea of a life with Dorn. They weren't going to love each other, but they were going to benefit each other. She'd gain his prestige and used to become one of the most famous archaeologists in all of Palmara. Her name was already connected to the boat project back in Huxtriel. And he'd gain a wife who boosted his popularity with the common folk, while also allowing him to continue along his path of discretion without any ramifications. Was it perfect? No, but this was the reality of life in Palmara. Sure enough, she found Dorn with 2 other girls. He had his arms around both of them. They were laughing about something he said. Pathetic, she thought. He isn't even that funny. She debated walking away. Instead, she decided to go talk to him and see how he'd respond. This is probably the alcohol talking. Oh well, here we go. "Hey, Dorn," she said casually. "I thought you were coming right back." He didn't even take his hands away from the girl's hips. "Sorry about that, Abigale. I was catching up with some old friends. This is Megan and Edan." Abigale raised her eyebrow at his use of friends. She quickly constructed a plan in her head. It was only fair that if Dorn could do whatever he wanted, so could she. "Nice to meet you both. Just wanted to find you in case you came back and didn't find Shyloe or I. We're going to head over to the park where the karaoke is happening. Might try out a song or two." "Fine with me. Go have fun. I'll come find you later," Dorn nonchalantly replied and returned to speaking with Megan and Edan. She kept her mind calm like the surface of a lake before a storm. This was the life she was going to have moving forward. Deep down, she desired a more intimate and loving relationship, but that wasn't in the cards for her. Not if she wanted to appease her parents. It was becoming easier and easier to accept her current lot in life. Still, it didn't mean she wasn't allowed to voice her opinion. "All right," she responded. "Time for the dagger. I may go connect with Daniel, too. I haven't seen him for a bit and would like to see how he's doing." Dorn glared in her direction, moving his hands from around the girls. "Daniel?" He spat, a hint of jealousy in his voice. "The solar Faceoff wannabe? I thought you two were only partners for your class project." "He's also a friend," she smirked, eyeing the two girls. "As long as he stays only a friend," Dorn threatened. Abigale scoffed. "Well, if you can have friends," she pointed to Megan and Edan, "then I can too." "We'll see about that," Dorn's voice lowered. "Is that a threat?" She placed her hands on her hips in defiance. "I don't honestly know what you see in him anyways. He's starting to become a teacher." "A teacher?" Dorn laughed. Edan and Megan joined in as if the idea of being someone who taught people was a joke. Of course, for people with higher prestige, it likely is. "At least he is doing something with his life," she shot back. "He isn't living off the prestige he was gifted to get by. He's trying to make Palmara a better place to live in. The world could use more people like Daniel." Dorn laughed and returned his hands to their original positions around Megan's and Edan's waist. "You know what? Go hang out with Daniel. I don't care. I'm not threatened by him. They say he's a follower of Arnion. He runs his life with some old-fashioned religion." Another laugh. "What a spawn of a Gugway." Abigale was enraged by the insult. However, she remained silent. She couldn't let her anger put her in danger of losing the relationship. "He needs to get with the times. You already know the life I can offer you. Daniel could never get you connected with the right people like I can. So go. Enjoy your little fling. You will be back." Abigale wanted to point out that he obviously was threatened, or else he wouldn't be making such a big deal out of it. He was right. She would be back. But not for him. "You are doing this for your parents. You are doing this for your parents," she kept repeating over and over as she stormed her way back to Shyloe. On the way, she grabbed another glass of wine, didn't take the time to figure out if she liked it or not, and downed it within seconds. "An apple cherry wine. Not bad." Shyloe was drinking her coffee when she returned. "You find him?" "Yup," Abigale replied sharply. And he's busy with some friends," she stated, not wanting to go into further detail. Shyloe nodded with understanding. "I can go make his life miserable if you want." "No," she shook her head with a slight laugh. "I'd rather we just have fun." "Hey, want to go do some karaoke? Maybe find Daniel, Emmy, and Seth? They may want to join in." "Heck yeah!" Shyloe exclaimed. "Oh, here's your coffee, by the way." She took a long drink, almost half the thermos. It was still hot, but she didn't care. "Thanks." "Whoa, save some coffee for later, Abs." "Sorry, just thirsty. You ready? Let's do this." Abigale messaged Daniel on her Nexus and told them to meet them at the park. He wasn't long in responding. They'd meet Shyloe and her there. Passing by a fabricator, Abigale made a lightning-fast decision. She keyed in her desire and watched it materialize in front of her. "Another coffee?" Shyloe inquired. "You haven't finished your first yet." Taking a sniff, Abigale inhaled the delightful smell of strong coffee mixed with a hint of sweetness from the whipped cream and the smell of Caledonian whiskey. "This isn't just any coffee." Shyloe's mouth dropped. "Whoa, Nelly! You got a Caledonian coffee without me? Candy, how long do I have to wait to drink again?" 33 minutes and 17 seconds, dear." "Yeah, no more sweet talk, bucko. We aren't on good terms right now." "I only aimed best to serve you, Shyloe." "Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's some fabricators near the park," Abigale giggled. "You can get one when you're at a timeout." Shyloe's head tilted and her lips curled with a non-impressed glare. "I will remember that." "I have no doubt you will." Abigale took a drink of her Caledonian coffee. So delicious. About 10 minutes later, they arrived at the park. With some coordination, they found Daniel, Emilyn, and Joseph standing around chatting. "Hey!" Daniel waved them over. "How's your night going?" he asked both of them. She held up her whiskey-infused drink. "Really good. And you?" "Not too bad," Daniel responded. "Hokey wah! Is that a Caledonian coffee?" Emmy exclaimed. "I should get one of those. It's been a while." Yeah, I want one too. Shyloe rolled her eyes, but Candy has me in a timeout. Had a little too much already, Shyloe? Emmy elbowed Seth in the side. What? Don't be rude, Emmy told him. No, it's fine. Candy put me in an alcohol timeout. I have... She paused and pushed a button on her Nexus. 19 more minutes to go. I'll wait then, and then we can get one together, Emmy offered. Abigail noticed Emmy was wearing darker makeup than normal, which gave her skin more of a beige tone as opposed to her natural warm ivory appearance. Okay, Shyloe smiled. Well, what do we do in the meantime? Daniel asked. Abigail pointed towards the stage. Anyone up for some karaoke? I will be after I have my Cladonian coffee, Shyloe stated. Even with one, you won't catch me up there, Emilyn added. I'm not much of a singer myself, Seth pointed towards Daniel. But Daniel can carry a tune. Daniel shot Joseph an alarming stare. What do you say, Daniel? Up for some karaoke? Abigail was hoping he'd say yes. After a deep sigh, he responded, Sure, why not? What song are we going to sing? Abigail pondered the question. Why not one that connects with our history project? Well, it doesn't connect perfectly. You mean The Lantern and the Sword? That's the one. The Lantern and the Sword was a poem about Pallador and Wilbur written 2 or 3 years after the end of the war. Almost immediately, people took the poem and paired it with music. Originally constructed as a ballad with a lyre, violin, and a flute, the song was transformed into various musical styles throughout the ages. Everyone throughout all of Palmara knew it and had their favorite version. What's your favorite way to sing it? Abigail asked after taking a drink of her coffee. You can't go wrong with the classic, Daniel responded with a shrug. Though I recently heard a folk metal version of the song that absolutely nailed it. Abigail's heart started to beat faster. Was it sung by the group The Lunar Knights? Yeah, that's them. Want to try that one? Abigail handed her drink to Shyloe. I'm not sure I can hit some of those notes, he hesitated slightly. She grabbed his arm. That's what makes this fun, Arnion boy. The two of them hurried up to the platform and told the professor hosting the karaoke what they picked for their song. The male professor introduced them in their song. The first beat started to echo around as the holographic band members of the Lunar Knights joined them on stage. There were 2 lunar guitars, a lunar bass, a solar keyboard, a lunar drum set, a solar fiddle, and even some lunar bagpipes. The mixing of the solar and lunar instruments gave the music a more metal feel. The song started off slow, like a ballad, with Abigail singing the first verse. Daniel joined in for the chorus before singing the second verse on his own. After that, they sang everything in tandem as the music built up around them and rocked the whole park.
Together they stood and gave the first blow.
The crowd hollered and screamed in exultation for Abigale and Daniel. They enjoyed their moment before descending from the platform. She turned to them with a loving smile and subconsciously placed her hand on his arm. She leaned in close so he could hear her over the crowd. "I don't know why you were nervous. You sounded amazing." Daniel looked down at her hand and then back up into her eyes. "So did you," he replied with a similar smile. "Maybe I should kiss him. If Dorn can have his fun, why can't I have mine?" Their friends rushed up to them, shouting with delight, interrupting the moment. "That was awesome!" Shyloe danced, almost singing the words as she spoke. "The two of you sound great together. You sure you're meant to have a career as a history teacher and archaeologist? You could hit it off as a traveling singing duo." "Singing is more an enjoyable pastime than an actual career," Daniel replied, shaking his head. "I love history too much." "Sometimes he even talks about history in his sleep," Seth mentioned lightheartedly. "One time I thought he was merely rambling about nonsense until I realized he was reciting his project for the next day." Daniel rubbed his hand through his hair in an effort to hide his embarrassment. "One time, Seth. It was one time." "That week," Seth corrected. The rest of them laughed. Shyloe handed the Cladonian coffee back to Abigale. "At least Daniel is asleep. Abigale stays up all night rehearsing it over and over until she gets it perfect. If I have to hear one more sentence about artifacts or ancient customs and rituals, it would be one too many." Abigale downed the rest of her drink. "This coming from the girl who decorates our room with holographic animals so she can study their behaviors and attitudes," she teased. Shyloe shrugged. "We all have our vices. Speaking of, my timeout will be over in about 5 minutes. By the time I order it and it cools down, I'll be allowed to drink it. You coming, Emmy?" "You know it. Seth?" She looked over in his direction. "I'm good for now." He waved his hand in front of him. "Suit yourself. We'll be right back." The two girls started to walk away. "I'm coming too," Abigale added. "You're having another one?" Daniel asked, a touch of concern in his voice. "No, but I think I could go for another drink of wine. Maybe some water too after all that singing." Her throat was parched like the sand in the desert. "You boys staying here?" Daniel responded for them. "Do you mind grabbing me a water as well? Seth and I will try and find us all a place to sit and relax." "I don't mind." Abigale smiled and rushed to join Emilyn and Shyloe. The three girls walked over to the nearest fabricator. Emilyn and Shyloe ordered their Cladonian coffees, and Abigale selected a Morosian strawberry wine. After taking a sip, she realized she needed to use the bathroom. Emmy and Shyloe joined her. On their way to the bathroom, Candy informed her that her blood alcohol levels were close to suggesting she was drunk. Abigale ignored them. The alert was a precautionary one. If she continued to drink, her nexus would alert Shyloe, Daniel, her parents, and Mika that she was drunk. Oh well, not the first time, certainly not the last. By the time they returned to the boys, half of Abigale's cup was already emptied. She was starting to feel a little tired. Probably just the events of the night catching up with me. She took another gulp. "Now what do we do?" Emmy inquired. "The night is still young." The next karaoke song was beginning. Originally sung by a pop boy band known as the Lane Lads, a group of guys were up on the platform doing their best to imitate the band. "Oh, I love the Lane Lads. They are my favorite." Emilyn was trying hard not to spill her drink as she jumped up and down. "And they're singing my favorite song. They don't sound half bad either." Seth took the Cladonian coffee out of her hand and set it on a nearby table. "Hey, what are you doing?" "I don't want you to spill your drink," he pointed out. "Besides, I figured you'd want to dance." She pointed at him with a smirk. "You read my mind." "I have my moments." He took her by the hand and started to dance to the music. "You do, Seth, you do." Abigale turned to Daniel. "Would you like to dance?" "Oh, I am good. You and Shyloe should just dance." "Nope." Shyloe held up her free hand. "I'm enjoying this alcoholic beverage while I can. You two go have fun." "If you don't want to dance, I understand." She tried not to sound disappointed. No. We can dance." Daniel relented and held out his hand. "Are you sure Dorn won't mind?" She left her drink on the table. "I am positive he won't." Abigale accepted his hand and they walked over next to the dancing duo of Emmy and Seth. With hesitation, they started to dance to the fast-paced music. At first, it was awkward as they learned to match the other. Eventually, they were moving in unison. At one point, the four of them merged into a group, laughing and dancing together. As they danced, Abigale felt an electric pull towards Daniel, even more so when the next song was a slow song. She hoped he wouldn't mind when she laid her head on his shoulder. She noticed she was becoming more and more exhausted as the song continued. I think I need to sit down, Abigale stated as the last note disappeared into the night. Yeah, you don't look the best, he offered his arm, and she took it as they walked back to the table. Just tired. A drink will help, I'm sure. She took a seat and finished the rest of her wine. It was then she heard noises from Shyloe and Daniel's Nexie. You're drunk, Abs, Shyloe stated. No, it must be a mistake. I feel fine. Her eyesight was starting to become blurry. No, Abigale, her Candy spoke loudly for everyone to hear. My scans indicate you are indeed drunk. No more alcohol for you until your body has had time to rest. Well, at least we still have the party. She wanted to stand up, and she found that the world was spinning like a tornado. Daniel and Shyloe reached over to help her back to her seat. Maybe you should go back to the dorm, Shyloe suggested, sitting down beside her best friend. I'll sit for a while. It will pass. I thought I had spaced out my drink so I wouldn't get drunk this quickly. She reflected over the past hour and a bit. She did have 3 glasses of wine and a Cladonian coffee. If I may, Abigale, Candy spoke softly. Abigale preferred the calmness of a female voice. The readings in your body are telling me that it may be best for you to sleep it off. That will result in you feeling better sooner. Abigale started to feel angry at herself for letting her restraint go. I usually have more self-control. What happened? I'll take you back, Daniel volunteered before she could argue with Candy. A little fresh air may do us both some good. It's about a 25-minute walk back to your room, or I can call my Cosmospeeder to come pick us up. With Shyloe present, there was no way she was going to win an argument to stay, so she agreed to go. Definitely the speeder. I'm not sure I trust myself on my feet at the moment. Her feet were starting to hurt from all the walking and dancing. She took off her sandals and let her feet breathe and relax. Daniel started talking to his Candy, and his speeder arrived within the next 5 minutes. She slipped her sandals back on before Daniel helped her to her feet and into the passenger seat before claiming his spot behind the wheel. Instead of driving, he ordered Candy to go on autopilot to her dorm room. I did have fun tonight, he said after a few moments of silence. So did I. I'm sorry I ruined it for everyone, she said apologetically. She removed her sandals again and placed them on the seat beside her. You didn't ruin it. It will definitely be a night we'll remember for the rest of our lives, he smiled. Just as she wanted to push him and ask what he meant, her stomach started to twist and turn in unusual ways. Before she could say anything, she bent over and began throwing up all over the floor of Daniel's speeder. Tears filled her eyes as she felt Daniel's hands pull her hair away from her face. He wasn't getting angry with her or yelling. He was doing whatever he could to make sure she was comfortable while she was getting sick in his vehicle. A true gentleman, she managed to think before her mind was distracted again by getting sick. Candy, Daniel said kindly after he was sure she was finished. Please initiate speeder cleaning program Lunar 6. As you wish, Daniel. He placed her hand in his. I don't know if you've ever experienced this before. It may be uncomfortable, but you will appreciate it. The floor beneath her feet opened and sucked all the waste away like a toilet being flushed. Then the water started to spray off her bare legs and feet, cleaning off the muck and grime. Despite still feeling queasy, the water felt refreshing and even helped lower her embarrassment. When Candy determined the job was finished, the floor was closed, an air freshener was sprayed, and a towel was dispatched in the compartment in front of her. Before she could reach out, Daniel grabbed it and laid it over her legs. Probably best to let it dry like that. Don't want you to exert yourself. Also, drink this. He handed her a small bottle of clear liquid. She had no idea where he grabbed it from. It will help you feel better and take the bad breath away. I always hated the aftertaste in my mouth. She accepted the drink and drank it quite quickly. Despite being clear, it had the taste of a strong peppermint. Thank you for holding back my hair. I figured you probably didn't want that flying in your face. Yeah, I'm so sorry, Daniel. I am so embarrassed. She tried to hide her face. Don't be. I used to get speeder sick all the time as a kid. This was a common occurrence for me. Your first time? In a speeder? Yeah. She noticed some of the lower parts of her dress didn't escape being covered. She nonchalantly pulled the towel up to cover it. And to be honest, I hope it is the last. Arriving at her dorm, she used a towel to finish drying off her legs and feet and tried to wipe off her dress. Some of it scraped off, but not all of it. Daniel helped her out of his speeder. He held her arm all the way to her room on the second floor. They took the stairs. The elevator would not have been a wise choice. I don't mean this to sound weird, but are you good? Or do you need me to stay? I don't want to leave and then you slip and fall and hurt yourself, or if you pass out. His voice trailed off. I'll be fine, she half smiled, half laughed. They were standing in front of the door to her room. Thank you for everything. Not a problem, Abigail. Get some rest. After all, we still have to put the finishing touches on our project. Yeah, I agree. All right. Sounds good. Have a good night, he said affectionately. They were staring into each other's eyes. She was tempted to lean up and kiss him. He might take it the wrong way. And then she thought, well, I know Dorn has done more than kiss other girls. Why should he be allowed and not me? And before she knew it, their lips were touching. At first, it was tentative, as she was self-conscious about her breath. However, Daniel didn't pull away. She wrapped her hands around his neck, and she felt his hands pull her closer and rest gently on her hips. They became more confident with each passing second. Abigail had dreamt of this moment, and it was surpassing everything she imagined. Heat rose inside of her like a volcano ready to explode. She never wanted the moment to end. Thank you for listening to my book, Palmara, A Dying Breed. I'd love to hear your feedback. What do you like? What do you think needs some work? What are you most interested to see happen? What questions do you have? At the end of every chapter, I'll have these slides that show how time works in Palmara, plus the different sayings and terms to help you engage with the world. As well, the characters who appear in each chapter will be found in the video description. Be sure to check it out. And if you're enjoying this and enjoy other stories, please make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe. You can always join the Discord with the link in the description as well. Until next time, Hanei Akmatov, which means how pleasant it is for humanity to dwell in harmony with one another. Take care.